Hello, this is Eric Thompson. I'm the founder and lead investment officer of Peerless Wealth, a registered investment advisory located in Columbus, Ohio. Thank you for tuning in. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about debt and about whether it makes sense to focus extra money on paying down debt or whether to invest it. This is one of the big questions I get asked, especially from my kind of younger or middle-aged clients. You know, we talk about, okay, are you maxing out your 401k? Do you have an emergency fund? Let's make sure you're investing the 401k in the right areas. Are you doing an IRA? Do we have other investment accounts? Are you on track for retirement? We do all that, and then the question inevitably is, hey, Eric, I get this debt here. Should I focus on paying that down first, or should I just plow money into my investment account with you? And so I'll give you some rules of thumb, and I'm going to show you some maybe a little bit different way of thinking about things. There's good debt and there's bad debt, and I think most of you know this, but if you have 18% interest credit card debt, I don't want any of your money. I want you to put it all on that credit card until that's paid off. But then we get into things like mortgages and maybe even student loans for some of my younger clients. With respect to student loans, if it's under 6% and you're deducting it off your taxes, I would not be in a rush to pay it off. Just make the minimums, but invest a little on the side. The bigger question I get is on mortgages. That's usually people's biggest monthly obligation. And responsible people are typically debt averse, and that's a good thing. But sometimes they can be too debt averse. And we don't want to miss out on the advantages of long-term investing either. So let's assume, in my illustration, that somebody bought a home and they had a $400,000 mortgage balance and they did a 30-year mortgage. And they came, and it was a 5% mortgage. Now, a year ago you could have got under 4%. Now I think they're closer to 6. I'm just going to assume 5 for the sake of the illustration. And let's say they came to me and they said, you know, Eric, I saw that all that interest when I closed. They said I'm going to pay, $300,000, almost $400,000 just in interest. I want to get this thing paid down as quick as possible. So let's look at a couple illustrations. The first illustration I'm going to show you is just the straight mortgage, what they call an amortization table. And that'll pop up on your screen here in a second. And you can see here in year one, it starts at $400,000. And in the far right-hand column, every year, it slowly goes down. And then 30 years later, you've eliminated it and you've finally paid your house off. So some people might want to pay that down quicker. In fact, it's often said if you can make 2 or 3 extra mortgage payments a year, you'll pay off your mortgage 10 years sooner. So that's not bad advice, but I'm gonna give you what I think is better advice here in a minute. So let's talk about illustration number 2 now that'll pop up. And this is assuming that you made an extra $500 a month added to your payment to go to principal. Now your original payment, as you can see in that first column, your payment was $2,147 a month. And if that's all you paid, you'd have it paid off in 30 years, just like the first illustration. But I'm going to assume you added $500 a month to that, which would be $6,000 a year, to put your total payment at $2,547 a month. This calculates how much interest you'd save and how much quicker you'd pay your home off. So in this case, your interest savings, which we've highlighted there on the right, you've saved $140,740 in interest. And you've paid your home off in 19 years, 11 months. So we'll call it 20 years. So that's not a bad strategy. In fact, some people that are on bi-weekly pay will often make those extra couple of mortgage payments a year because they get 2 extra paychecks a year. So it can make some sense. But let's talk about a third strategy. What if you took that $500 a month and you invested it in the 500 highest quality companies in the world, what we call the S&P 500 index. So this third illustration, I went back 20 years And we started it in 2002. You see that highlighted on the top left. And then every year you put $500 a month, which is $6,000 a year. And that's highlighted there in the new investment column. So every year it's $6,000. The first year is only $2,500 because it's a partial year. We add all those up, it's $119,500. It's just under $120,000, which would be $6,000 a year for 20 years. And you put it in the S&P 500 index. Well, what would have that have been worth? Well, the far right column, second to far right column, will show the market value. And you can see that climbing over time. And you can see the very last year, it was, in fact, June of 2022, it's worth $366,000 and change. And that's even after this year's drop, which has not been insignificant. So we have $366,000 in our side account. Well, what do we owe on the mortgage? Well, let's go back to illustration 1. That'll pop up here on the screen. And we see that in year 20, had we not made any extra mortgage payments, we owe $202,449. Well, that's okay because we have $366,000 in our side account. We can go ahead and pay that off and still have $166,000 left to have some fun with or save for retirement or do whatever. So, so that philosophy, in my opinion, is the best way to go. Now, why does it work like that? It works because the average rate of return on that S&P 500 index investment was 10.24%, call it 10% a year. The interest rate you're paying on your mortgage is only 5% a year. So if you can invest at a higher rate of return than what you're paying in interest, you're going to get ahead over time. Now, it's not guaranteed, and that would be the main risk of this strategy. Is even 20 years is a long history. I can go back 40, 50 years and I'll get a similar 8 to 12% average, but we all know that's not guaranteed. Whereas paying down debt, we are guaranteed to have that debt paid down. So you have to have the right sort of behavior and emotional strength to weather down years and to stay on track. But if you can do that, you're going to come out ahead and you're going to have more money at the end. The lower the interest rate on your mortgage, the more I would tell someone to just make that minimum payment and invest the rest. But you have to invest the rest. You can't just say, oh yeah, I'm going to do that, and then you never actually get it set up, and then you don't make extra mortgage payments. So what you want to do is, if you're one of my clients, we would link your account to your checking account, and we would set up monthly contributions of $500 a month automatic. It has to be done that way. If it's a choice, oftentimes it doesn't always happen. So if you have the discipline, the risk tolerance, the intestinal fortitude when markets get rough, you'll come out ahead by over the long run by investing instead of making those extra payments to a low interest tax deductible mortgage. That's the other thing. If you can deduct the interest off your taxes, that's another reason why you may not want to have that paid down as quick as you once thought. So I hope that puts some numbers down to where, instead of just you hearing you should do this, you shouldn't do this, I've kind of made a pretty good case for why I think. So again, I hope you learned something, and as always, contact me if you have any questions. Thank you.